So this is my client Ravan, and he runs Primos Group, which is a tax consulting business, and right now he's doing about 40 to 50k a month. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what's holding him back and what needs to change to scale him from 50 to 150k a month in real time.
The main mistake that you've been making is not having all the foundations that I've just talked about. Looking at your landing page right now, it's not optimized at all.
We should never have a lifetime offer unless we charge a really huge amount of software like 40, 50, 60k upfront. It just doesn't make sense.
The goal by the end of this is simple. Fix his offer foundation so it's actually built to scale, plug a content system that brings in consistent qualified leads every single day, and plug the leaks in his sales and scaling process so growth doesn't stall. And by the end of this, you won't just see the problems that Ravan needs to fix, you'll see the same gaps in your own business and how to actually close the gap without guessing.
Today, I'm here with my client and good friend, Ravan Laduri, here in Bali, and we're here to just go over his entire business and see how we can at least 2 to 3 times his top line revenue. So Ravan, just tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how much is your business doing a month right now?
Sure. So my name is Ravan. I'm running a consulting company in the tax space, tax optimization space. And right now the business has been making around, let's say 40 to 50k per month, with a big part of that coming from pretty stable, but still not so reliable sources of income, like referrals. We've tried some ads, we've tried a few different things. We've seen some success, but the level of success was not the top level that we were expecting. So I'm very curious and excited to see what you're about to talk about today on us.
Firstly, right, Ravan, I'm gonna tell you right now, you have a 150k a month business minimum in your head here now. Especially in the B2B industry, working with giants like Suway, Josh, it's no reason why you shouldn't be making that loft, right? So I kind of want to just strip it all back to the foundations and basics and kind of look back at everything from the very start, right? So in an info business, the first thing you want to think about is this big tree, right? First thing, you want to look at your offer, right? Second, you want to look at the pricing. And the most important thing is your positioning, okay? When you have these 3 things, your offer becomes irresistible, and you can literally just scale and take over anyone in the info space in your wish. So first things first, right, Ravan, let's talk a little bit about your current offer right now.
So right now we have 2 ways of working. We have the lifetime consulting approach, where we take in clients, and basically we don't set a set amount of time for us to help them with the consulting party thing. So answering their questions, giving them assistance. And we have 2 ways of pricing it. Starting offer, the most affordable one. And then another one, which is a bit more premium, which includes a Hong Kong company, which is basically, I would say, the clients that were the highest earners, that have the highest revenue. And that is kind of like the main entry point for us to sign it.
And in terms of your pricing, right now, what is the price for both of this?
So the US LLC is a 3k offer in euros. And the Hong Kong company is a 6k offer as well, agreed.
And right now, your positioning, who are you trying to target? Business owners, status closes. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. So majority of our clients, they are, I would say, in 4 niches. Closing / appointment setter, sales rep, I would say online work. The second one is definitely all the service-based businesses. Those are agencies, marketer, content creator, anything like that. The fourth one is the coaches.
Okay.
And then the last one is probably something like e-commerce business owners, brand owners, things that were more product-based businesses.
Okay, makes sense. All right, so now I have a good understanding of your foundations. And let me break down what I genuinely feel is wrong right now and how we can at least 2 times or 3x your business. Okay, so first things first, right? The most glaring thing that I'm looking at is this lifetime. We should never have a lifetime offer unless we charge a really huge amount of software like 40, 50, 60k upfront, right? The reason is because we want the clients to respect the time, and you generally cannot scale if a bunch of clients are hitting you up for lifetime, right? It just doesn't make sense. What I would do personally is I would have an upfront offer, let's say for XYZ, right? You're going to that way. And then we have an MRR in the backend so that you can actually increase LTV and your clients actually respect your work as well, right? That's the number one thing. Second thing, you have to understand that there's 3 different kinds of offer. So there's DIY, so there's do it yourself, DWY, done with you, and DFY, which is done for you, right? In your industry specifically, and because you don't have course modules, I think tax is quite a complicated topic. So DI like doesn't really make sense, right? So we will kind of focus on this. So now looking at the pricing, right? You have 3K and 6K. And Ravan, how I like to price and determine the price is based on two factors, right? One is the value that you provide. And second is the close rate, right? So from what you told me right now, it seems that your clients, especially like the business owners, make upwards of about 100K a month annually from your services, correct?
Correct. Like I would say that the average client that makes 10 to 20K per month is going to save around 60K a year.
Good.
The top tier client is going to save like around 3 to 600K.
Okay, got it. So this one is around 10, 20K, that's the ICP.
Yes.
And this is around like 100K above. So
Exactly.
how I like to price based on them is the ROI divided per year. This is per year, right? Divided by 3 to 10%, right? So for that, say you say that he saves around like 60K a year, that would be around 5 to 6K USD, right? So this should be priced a little bit higher at 4K pounds, so this euros. And for this one, since it's like 100K and above, you should at least have a 5-figure offer, right? They will just increase your upfront cash collected and perceived value way more as well. So we make a 10K offer here, right? And what this does is also when you hop on sales calls, you can use the 10K as a price anchor, right? So you kind of like get that 10K offer as a free valuable price point, and people are going to see like, oh, damn, I want to know what that 10K actually does, right? And then if they can't afford it, you can downsell them, and then they have like some sort of relief, and they're like, okay, 4K is more affordable. In terms of the done with you and done for you, I would generally put this as DWY plus DFY ascension, right? So what I mean by this is that you have done for you elements for the 4K offer at the start. So you help them set up taxes, you help them set up maybe like banking. But if let's say they want to go up a second tier residency, what you can do then is then you can offer a check-in call where you upsell them into the 10K package. So that's the number one thing we can do for this one. And for the 10K offer, I would do it fully done for you. Yeah. In terms of the timeline, I would say this offer can be about 6 months, and this offer can be about 12. So 6 and 12, and then we can have about a $500 a month recurring after that if let's say they want to support. So the last thing is positioning, right? And the most important thing is that you have to target business owners, right? Business owners are the number one thing that you should target, because Alex Hormozi says that, you know, if you solve rich people problems, you get paid per rich people price, right? So that's the number one thing that we should solve. And in terms of your unique mechanism as well, it's going to be super important, because we want to stand out from a crowd of like a bunch of tax consultants selling the same thing, right? And I know you have a unique mechanism where you kind of can guarantee someone to get as close to 0% as possible, plus also having that flexibility in the back end, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So what we can do is we can call it like, let's say the 0% Primos flexible system, and that can be your unique mechanism, right? Because you want to sell based on outcome, especially in the B2B offer. So let's say we do that 0% Primos mechanism system, and you know we have to change your BYU as well, right? The formula for that is very simple. Is what is your biggest achievement? So A is for achievement, and then with what unique mechanism, right? That's the first line. So let's say, how many people have you served in terms of the online space?
220 to our vendor.
So let's say we can say like 220 online entrepreneurs helped save like a number with the 0% flexible Primos system, for example, right? That can be the first line. So your achievement, and then the unique mechanism that you have used to help them. And then the second line can be something about maybe yourself, right? Like where you're from or something of that. And the last line can be like a CTA to a YouTube video to funnel that into your pipeline.
The next step is to actually get leads into his pipeline, right? Because having a good offer but having no people to buy it is basically no use, right? So the first thing we need to focus on is having a content strategy, okay? So everything has to be intentional about your content, right? But before I go into that, right, first thing we have to understand is this concept. There's going to be 3 kinds of content, and an average buyer will need to consume all 3 of it to actually make a decision to buy your product, right? So there will be TOF, middle of funnel, and the last one will be bottom of funnel. So top of funnel can be stuff like vlogs, stuff that will get eyeballs onto your page. Middle of funnel can be stuff like maybe talking about your unique mechanism, right? What is the Primo system? And then bottom of funnel can be like student results, can be any testimonials, right? So that's the first concept. The second thing is, so a lot of people, when they make content, they only target their ICP, right? But the most important thing that we have to understand is that we need to target our dream follower, because by targeting our dream follower, we get the characteristics of our best students as well. So we need to create content that hits not just what your ICP is, but the follower as a whole. So like, you know, where he's from, what his values are, what traits would make you get results for him faster, right? These are the things that we need to do. So that's the reason why we can't just show value content. We also need to have a personal connection to your audience, right? So you need to create content that shows who you are as a person, what is your value, and that really just attracts the right people to your page. Okay, so that's the first thing that we need to do. So based on that, right, Ravan, what would you say is your current content situation right now when it comes to, let's say, TOF, MOF, and BOF? What kind of results?
I would say that a big part of my content is top of funnel, trying to talk about topics that potentially can bring new people, or something like middle. So something
Middle of
where-
funnel, top of funnel.
And you know, it's also not ideal. I can say that I've been speaking about my unique mechanism. I've been speaking about my field. I've been speaking about general principles that I believe are important for people. But that does not really reflect what I do or what my company does as of a unique mechanism. It's more like, oh, it works this way or that way, or people who tell you this are wrong, this is why. So it's not ideal. It's not optimized on that aspect.
Your content format is good, but the main thing that is missing is diversity. So I would say you probably need more authority content.
Absolutely.
So like talking about not just like, you know, you traveling and all that, because you have a fantastic lifestyle, but the main thing is showing them how does the Primo system work and how they can get their desired outcome, right? I think I would do more reels on really just breaking down why 0% tax works when people work with you, and why your option is the most flexible compared to everyone else, right? So maybe more like results focused. I also don't see a lot of bottom of funnel. I don't see much interviews.
There's no bottom of funnels. That's something I do want to change.
Yeah.
Especially since now we're starting to get really big names as
Yeah.
our clients.
Yeah,
And I know that these people we need to go spend time recording testimonials with.
exactly.
So yeah, one of the upcoming things I want to do is to go to London to record with Sue, record with other of my clients who are there, do the same thing across the locations where all of these guys are, and
Yeah.
basically take opportunity of that to max
100%.
out bottom
Yeah.
of funnel. Definitely.
100%. I think this would be another way to really build trust, right? And also, people buy based on like association, right? So if let's say, you know, people see you with like a really well-known guy in the space, people are gonna immediately think like, oh shit, this guy, I gotta work with him as well, since
100%.
XYZ is working with Ravan, right? So I think this is a really big thing that you can work on, and it's super easy, right? Just a testimonial. For middle of funnel, definitely show more of your content, show more authority. And top of funnel, I would say you probably need to double down on your YouTube channel. I think your YouTube is something that hasn't been fully utilized.
Yeah.
Definitely YouTube, I would say maybe since you are quite a well-traveled person, I'll do like day in the life of a tax consultant, for example. And I feel looking at your content right now as well, you need to show more of like your personal side, your vulnerable side as well. Maybe just talking a little bit about your upbringing. I think that would help people connect with you, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as
Yeah,
well.
so telling people like who Ravan is, right? Why did you even get into online space? What is your family background? What pushes you? What drives you? This content will attract your dream follower, because now you're not just providing value, you're also showing people what are your personality traits, which means that your dream client traits from your best clients would basically be amplified. Another thing that I want to talk about is your highlights. So you have a fantastic profile picture, fantastic pictures as well. It looks really, really aura, high value. But I would say your highlights can be a little bit more optimized,
Yeah.
right? So I would personally add a start here tab, right? A highlight start here tab like that. And what this would be for anyone that lands into your page, they go in,
And they kind of understand what I do.
they understand what you do. But not only that, is to really just touch on why text optimization is important,
100%.
right? So that's the number one thing. And I'll have 2 pinned posts. So I have a carousel post, pinned post. One would be the Primos 0% system, right? And this post would literally just be talking about, your credentials first, right? Maybe like I've helped 220 plus entrepreneurs optimize their tax in 2025, and here's what worked, and this is the system that got them there, right? And then you break that down with like actual value and telling them, how you can get them there, and maybe a second post about your story, right? So this hits both the ICP and also your dream follower as well. In terms of stories, I would say Monday to Friday, you can have maybe Monday, right? You can have a light CTA. I wouldn't really do hard CTAs from the very start because you haven't really done that yet. And your audience is more sophisticated. They understand how info works. So have a light CTA with lead magnets as well. Tuesday can be like your personal story. Wednesday can be lifestyle. And then Thursday can be maybe your own win as well. Because like people want to buy from people that they know actually are masters of their field, right? 100%. And then Friday can be like anything you want. Yeah, so that's sort of like a strategy. At least have like 1 or 2 soft CTAs every month. I think that would help you boost your conversions and get people over the line. So Ravan, the first thing, right, is looking at your landing page right now is not optimized at all, right? Look at your headline. Don't wait to expedite to start paying less tax, right? And just look at this, like there's no clear outcome. You're not calling out your ICP, and there's no way that it really attracts the audience because there's no sense of urgency. How I liked to make sure in terms of my headline is to really have this formula, right? So this is sort of like a draft that I gave you. So it's discover how online entrepreneurs are saving up to $120,000 a year using the 0% tax Primos ecosystem. So from this, you can immediately see, this is your ICP, right, online entrepreneurs. This is the outcome that they would get. And 0% tax Primos ecosystem is the unique mechanism, right? So that is the headline. For the sub-headline, it will be common pain points. So for example, in tax, it can be, people feel like it's not legal. People feel like it's really complicated because there's a lot of paperwork, right? So you want to pre-handle those objections in the sub-headline, right? So without committing tax fraud, filling in a bunch of paperwork, or getting in trouble with the tax office, right? Once we do that, we have to have a VSL, right? And the reason why I use a VSL for your offer is because your offer is B2B, and a free community funnel doesn't really make sense because you don't really have that sort of infrastructure for it yet. So we want to make sure that you have a system where people can come in and just understand like what you do, who you help, and just have a simple sort of either a type form or a Calendly that they can fill out, right? So a VSL should be around either 5 to 10 minutes long or 3 to 5 minutes long, depending on if you want to make it more solution aware or you want to make it more all-rounded, right? So that would be done once we onboard you further. But first things first, have a VSL like this, right? And then have an apply button as well, right? So for your offer right now, we can either do a type form or Calendly. Type forms usually work when you have massive traffic coming into your Instagram, and Calendly would work if, let's say, you don't have a lot of traffic, and the people that are coming in, maybe they're more sophisticated, right? They don't want to fill out like a bunch of type forms, they just want to book a call with you. So ideally, I would put a Calendly. So this one will be removed, and I'll put a Calendly for your offer. And then you can have a bunch of client interviews as well, right? You can just put your biggest case studies there, right? Make sure that you have different case studies in different situations. For example, maybe someone is consulting space, you can put it there. Maybe someone is a fitness coach that's making like 500K a year as well, they can put it there. Just make sure it's more diverse. And this is the most important, right? This is where a lot of people mess up. So this is the post-booking page, right? First things first, immediately, you want to really just show them and understand that it's not over yet, right? Once you book a call, it's not over. I need you to do a few more steps to really make sure that you lock in your spot, right? So position yourself as someone that values their own time, and if you don't show up for the call, you will get blacklisted, right? That's the sort of like the vibe that you want to give. So usually a post-booking video, first step is to watch the video and frame it as a free training. Second is to confirm your meeting on email. So they have to go into the email and press that, right? And just say like, okay, I confirm to show up. Thirdly is to familiarize yourself with client interviews and wins as well. So again, to make them really understand that you actually know what you're doing, right? So that ties back into the content strategy in terms of bottom of funnel. And what I would add, and I've been adding for a lot of my clients is a Gamma document, just a full document talking about who you are and your Alexis as well, who's your business partner, what you guys do, and just breaking down the entire 0% tax Primos ecosystem, right? Because once again, for you, it's a B2B offer, which means that the people already know that they're here to buy something, right? They're not a B2C lead. You know, they don't have to have like fake scarcity and stuff. So it would make your close a lot easier if you just show them like what you do, how you're going to get them there, and how the entire system works, right?
Yeah.
That's really what they need.
What I always say is, if we could have the level of, I would say, authority and trust that we have when we get referrals,
Yeah.
every leads that we get would easily make 150.
Exactly.
Super
Exactly.
easily.
And I know you mentioned as well that urgency was a problem, right? With a lot of leads,
Yeah.
right? So kind of want to like just step away from this and look at like how our pre-call system works, right? So can you tell me like how your pre-call process works right now before someone takes a call?
So as of now, it was mostly booking the call in. There would always be an interaction with the guy on WhatsApp. First of all, to confirm his presence in the call, and then secondly, to kind of frame, okay, who are you? You know, what's your situation? In a brief explanation to make sure that if the person is not qualified, we don't book the call in.
Okay.
The one thing we haven't really been doing that much that we want to change is bringing more pre-call videos.
Okay.
That's something we've been recently starting to implement a bit more, but that's something that I know needs a lot more work because there's a whole ecosystem of videos we could share. with
100%.
that, and that's something that needs attention for sure.
Okay, so book a call in WhatsApp and then like just authority like showing them and then you get on the call, right?
Exactly.
First things first, definitely having that pre-call booking page that I showed you will increase like show up rate. Secondly, usually what we'll do, we have about 3 to 6 emails that come up right away, right? So the first email would say something like, hey, congratulations to booking a call in. Here are the next few steps that I need you to do to make sure that you show up on the call well prepared, right? And then frame it as so like it's a one-time strategy call. And if they do not show up, they might get blacklisted. They might, your time has to be respected, right? Firstly, that immediately like increase your authority, right? The second can be like a personal story. So maybe one is just like confirmation. And then second is like personal story. So like talking about why tax changed your life, for example, now you don't have to pay tax. Just build that a bit of emotional connection. Third can be maybe like a pre-call email talking about testimonials, right? So just calling them out, like in terms of like any objections they have, and then showing testimonials as well. Like for example, you can talk about Suwego, right? And maybe the email can say, hey, prospect name. So this is Suwego, one of my clients. He's making about 500K a month. But when he came to me, he was losing close to 100K every single year just because he didn't know how to optimize his tax and set up in Hong Kong, right? So have that sort of like system where you can really get them to join and understand and break their beliefs by telling stories about your clients, right? And then four, can be breakout videos. So this can be Q&A videos on the most common objections that you have. So how we do this is we go into your sales calls that you have. We use AI to take out what are the most common objections, right? Maybe it's a time objection, maybe it's a partner objection, whatever it is. We would ask you to create 30 to 60-second videos of you answering and pre-handling the objection, right?
How do you frame it? Do you frame it like frequently asked questions?
We either call breakout videos or Q&As, or frequently asked questions, yeah. And then we would either put it in video format, which we can put in the post-booking page, or we can put it in the email itself. The last thing would also be SMSs. So, people in the US, they usually look at like Messenger and stuff. So we use a software called SendBlue that basically just increases show-up rate because there's like a blue tick in the Messenger, so it looks like real. Yeah. We also have a CRM as well. So for anyone that maybe books a call but doesn't show up, we would send them to a different set of emails calling them out on why didn't they show up, and kind of like injecting scarcity to tell them like, hey, this is going to be your last chance if you don't book now, and then what, right? So instead of a call that didn't show up, they have a chance to re-rive again without you doing anything because you have the back-end systems dialed in.
That's great.
Eventually, we're going to have a dialer and closer coming into your business. So the dialer would probably call them, the DM setter would confirm with them, add you into a WhatsApp group with them, and then just really introduce yourself, You can even have a pre-recorded video of you talking about.
Yes, that's something
That's what you
that
do.
we're thinking about, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good because it just builds authority and builds that trust right away. So like, hey, this is Ravan, right? Just saw your application came in, right? Just wanted to shoot a quick introduction of myself, saw your situation, look forward to speak to you on Tuesday, right? Something like that. And then before that, we would have pre-call notes, notes that either the setter or the automation that when they fill out, it comes out. And based on that, you would have more context going into the call, which increases your close rate. Yeah. So that is basically like the funnel and conversion. This is very, very simple. We have like a lot of things at the back end. But firstly, right, change your landing page. Make sure that it shows a true outcome with a unique mechanism. And then, of course, handles the underlying objections. Make sure that you have a post-booking page with every single thing dialed in, including breakout videos, most common objections, Gamma document, and then, of course, having a 3 to 6 step email sequence to really just nurture them. And any lead that doesn't close, doesn't show up, we push them into another sequence that revives them, right? That is how you're going to improve like the entire conversion process. We have to understand that as a business owner, it doesn't make sense if you take the sales calls forever, right? First things first, right? A closer, he doesn't have to be framed as like a salesperson. He can be said like, oh, he's just a team member. He's just a lead head, right? And we can hire a guy that has experience in tax. We can get a guy, train him up, and really just make sure that he understands your process, right? Not anyone else, but yours. Secondly, I would say it depends on how much calls you're taking a day right now, and does it take up a lot of your time? So how many calls would you say you're taking?
Yeah, 10, 15 calls.
10 to 15 calls a week, okay. So 10 to 15 calls a week, I would say for now it's still good. Once you cross that like 20, 30 a month, you probably would need to outsource closing. And the entire process, right, for hiring a closer, setter, and DM setter, it's really just quantity based, right? So our process for hiring a closer that fits your offer, same as how we did for the DM setter, is first we have a type form, right? We have a type form talking about your offer, right? We blast it into like 6, 7 communities that we know and we trust. And once we do that, out of the top 10 applicants, we hop on one-on-one interviews with every single one of them, right? And because your offer is B2B, your offer requires more technical, in-depth knowledge as well, we would kind of like test them on their tax knowledge. Out of that 10 people, we would probably choose like the top 1 or 2. And then out of these people, we would do a final interview and choose the best one. And a lot of business owners, they don't feel safe outsourcing the closing process because they feel like this guy would lose them the lead because they're not as much of an expert as you, right? But it's really more so, what can that time be done when you outsource that closing calls, right? You can be working on creating content. You can be working on filming ads. You can be working on fulfillment. You can be working on going to countries and forming connections with potential clients, right? Especially once we scale the other parts of the business, naturally, this number is going to go up massively, bro. It's going to go up like 30, 40. And at that point, realistically, I don't think you want to be hopping on calls every day.
Absolutely not.
For setters and dialers, I would say DM setting can be really, really crucial for you as well because you're a B2B offer. So we'll do outbound DM setting. So that's what we've been doing. We use a very, very in-depth outbound setting process where we really just make sure that the people that you outreach to, firstly, is your ICP, right? So business owners, sales reps, and we make sure that they are within ideal demographic as well. We would also give them a voice calibration sheet. So for example, what this means is that we would get the setters to go through all your Reels, all your YouTube, and really just understand how you speak, how you talk, what are your tendencies, and get them to fill out that form as closely as possible. And if they do not pass that form, we will not let them set on your account. And besides that, we also have dashboards as well. So without numbers, you can't scale, right? A lot of coaches, what they do is they just fly blind, right? They don't track the close rate, they don't track the show rate. And all of these metrics would be super important to actually track. For example, if let's say your lead to book rate is not the best, that means that maybe the conversation that your setter is having is not good enough, right? It's super important for you to track every dash and metric in your business so that you can actually scale with clarity. But this is basically the sales and selling process. And after this, right, what we would do is we would scale with ads, webinars, and other kind of funnels as well, right? But I think the main mistake that you've been making is not having all the foundations that I've just talked about, right? Foundation, 100%. Like offer, pricing, content, sales, funnels, dialed in, and you went straight to ads. That's why maybe it wasn't the most efficient because I think you can agree as well. Your business should be doing at least like 150K a month, bro.
Yeah, like when I look at my business, I genuinely think, how did I make that money
Yeah,
without
Having the systems.
anything in place?
yeah,
I mean, I know it's because the offer is good. It's
Yeah.
because people genuinely
have results.
have results and they talk about it with their friends. So I guess we have the kind of problems most people don't have.
Yeah. So Ravan, was really really good to hop on with this with you, man. I
Appreciate it,
genuinely
man.
feel we're gonna scale you, and
And I
Yeah.
hope we'll make another video a few months from now
yeah,
and sort of speak with the past tense
100%.
and saying this is what we did, this is what we got,
Exactly.
so we can kind of reflect on that.
Yes, sir.